Hello, I'm Esther Gidui Ewart. Welcome to Africa 54. Here's what's coming up. Kenyan Marathon world record holder Kelvin Kiptum dies in an automobile accident, cutting short his promising career. Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index for 2023 paints a grim picture of Africa's complex battle against corruption. And the celebration is on as Ivory Coast wins the Africa Cup of Nations final, beating Nigeria 2-1. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. We begin our broadcast with the tragic news of the death of Kenyan Marathon star Kelvin Kiptum and his coach, who were killed in a traffic accident in the Rift Valley region of the country on Sunday. His death cut short the promising career of the only man to have run the Endurance Classic in less than 2 hours and 1 minute. Diane To reports.
World Marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum and his coach were killed in a car crash in Kenya's Rift Valley on Sunday. That cut short the promising career of the 24-year-old Kenyan, who had clocked 3 of the 7 fastest marathon times in history. Kiptum had set the world record at the Chicago Marathon in October with a time of 2 hours and 35 seconds. He was looking to become the first man to finish in under 2 hours in race conditions in Rotterdam in April, and to make his Olympic debut in Paris in July. In a statement, World Athletics President Sebastian Coe said the organization was deeply saddened by the news, saying, quote, "An incredible athlete leaving an incredible legacy. We will miss him dearly." According to the police report, Kiptum was driving his Rwandan coach Gervais Hakizimana and a woman in a car near the Rift Valley village where he was born when the accident occurred. The athlete lost control of the vehicle and veered off the road into a ditch before crashing into a large tree. Kiptum and Hakizimana died at the scene, while the woman survived with serious injuries. Tributes have streamed in following the tragic news. Former Kenya Prime Minister Raila Odinga offered his condolences on social media, saying, quote, "Our nation grieves the profound loss of a true hero."
Dan To of Reuters filed that report. Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index for 2023 paints a complex picture of Africa's battle against corruption. Viewers Paul Ndiho has more.
Making strides, the overall scenario remains grim, with the average regional corruption score at 33 out of 100%. This indicates that corruption is still a significant issue, with 90% of sub-Saharan African countries scoring below 50%. At a recent event hosted in Washington, D.C. by James Madison University on accountability in African public policy and administration, experts like Dr. Sombo Muzata from James Madison University argued that combating corruption requires a comprehensive approach by building strong institutions that promote accountability.
Can we build institutions that, promote accountability? Yes, we can build institutions like that. We can have anti-corruption agencies, we can have the finance intelligence units, we can have the drug enforcement commissions, all those, the police, okay? All those are institutions that hold individuals accountable for the things that they do.
The Transparency International report points to countries like Seychelles, Cape Verde, and Botswana as examples of success. The report also reveals that Equatorial Guinea, South Sudan and Somalia are lagging near the bottom of the CPI index in dealing with corruption issues.
We need to be a little bit tough with the way we implement rules and regulations around corruption. They shouldn't just be policies, on tables and on shelves. So enforcement of rules and regulations becomes very, very important.
Dr. J. Albanese from Virginia Commonwealth University emphasizes the need for more accountability.
We need to make the voice of civil society louder. And how do you make the voice of civil society louder? You empower people through education, training, community groups. You have to focus those things.
Africa's struggle against corruption also poses risks to its democratic processes. Countries with lower CPI scores, including Mali, Guinea, Niger, and Gabon, face democratic tensions, underscored by a series of unconstitutional changes in governance. This underscores the urgency of Africa's overall fight against corruption that demands strong institutions and enforcement and a societal shift towards greater accountability and ethical governance to safeguard the continent's future. Paul Ndiho, VOA News, Washington.
Today, we begin a 5-part series on unemployment in Africa. Many young graduates in Senegal are facing challenges in securing jobs that align with their field of study or academic background. Some find themselves opting for roles in delivery or transportation out of necessity. Mamadou Ibrahim Amor is one of many experiencing such a situation. Alison Fernandez and Mustafa Dien has this story from Dakar, Senegal.
My name is Mamadou Ibrahim Amal. I'm originally from St. Louis, Senegal, and currently live in Dakar. I graduated in corporate finance, but I work in delivery. After completing my baccalaureate, I enrolled at Cheikh Anta Diop University in Dakar, where I studied philosophy for 1 year. Because there weren't opportunities, I decided to leave the university and went through accelerated training in business administration for a bachelor's degree. My plan was to enter banking upon completing my training, working as a financier. However, despite my efforts, I have been unable to find a job. All these applications are currently pending, and as of now, I haven't received any feedback. The time you invest in reading the job posts, entering personal information, and yet not receiving any response, it's a waste of time. During my first years of study, managing all my needs became challenging. I needed a source of income. It was during this period that I saw people involved in the delivery business. After classes, I would use my motorbike to make deliveries. This has not only enabled me to cover my rent, but also enough for my other needs, such as food, and occasionally supported my studies. My big wish is to get off the motorbike and get a job in my field, specifically in finance.
Many young people are struggling as they try to earn a decent income. In my case, I sell Touba coffee, while others sell peanuts or work as street vendors. Everyone is involved in all kinds of small businesses. People are doing whatever they can to make a living and support their families. However, the reality is that finding a job is difficult in the country. I come across numerous fellow graduates who, like Ibrahima, are struggling with unemployment.
Most of the young people attempting to cross Europe on canoes or those heading to Nicaragua often have diplomas. Despite their educational achievements, they find themselves without jobs or a stable income. Imagine being a young graduate who has completed his studies but does not even have 10 cents or 100 francs in his pocket to afford a cup of coffee. In such situations, it becomes more understandable why young people might be willing to take the risk of such dangerous journeys.
On Tuesday, in part 2 of our series, we'll look at navigating the job market in Nigeria, which poses a daunting challenge for both new graduates and others. Gibson Emeka speaks to 2 young people in Abuja who share their experiences during a prolonged job search. Sebastian Haller scored the winning goal with 9 minutes left in regulation time as hosts Ivory Coast claimed a 3rd Africa Cup of Nations title with a 2-1 victory over Nigeria in the final at the Alassane Ouattara Stadium in Abidjan on Sunday. Alice Rizzo has more.
Ivory Coast claimed the 3rd Africa Cup of Nations title at the Alassane Ouattara Stadium in Abidjan on Sunday. The Ivorians' victory completes a fairy tale comeback, beating Nigeria 2-1 in the final. Fans were elated outside the stadium.
It's an extreme joy that has reached its peak because we have dedicated so much effort, so much investment.
The team stumbled through the early stages and was handed the heaviest defeat ever suffered by a home country. The 4-0 loss to tiny Equatorial Guinea in the last group match was the biggest shock in the tournament. It left Ivory Coast on the brink of elimination. But they squeezed through as lucky losers into the knockout stages, sacked their coach, altered the lineup and slowly built momentum. The Cup of Nations has always been a colourful spectacle, often enlivened by controversy on and off the field. The tournament has also seen poor standard of matches. Past matches have seen empty stands. But the Ivory Coast changed that perception, helped by high quality of pitches and good attendances at most matches. Ivory Coast's caretaker coach, Amassi Faye.
It was extraordinary. It was a competition where there was a lot of suspense, a lot of turnarounds, a lot of goals, a lot of entertainment. I think that Côte d'Ivoire can be proud of its AFCON.
Alice Rees of Reuters filed that report. Nigerians reacted with sadness following their 2-1 loss to host Ivory Coast Sunday in the Africa Cup of Nations final. Timothy Obiezu caught up with some fans in Abuja.
In the midfield. What are you doing? What are you doing? Pass that ball. That ball was a simple goal. It was a simple goal. We played well. We tried our best. Kudos to the guys, but I guess second place is not so bad after all.
I was even scared for Osimhen at some point where there was a lot of criticism around him, like, oh, you're not playing, you're not doing well. I was praying in my heart for him, but before you know it, he was giving his best. Even though he's not scoring as much as people expected, but he has given his best. You can see him on the pitch, his blood, his sweat, everything is on the pitch.
The Super Eagles had kept an impressive record during the group games, but the tournament presented lots of surprises with favorites like Egypt, Morocco and Algeria all knocked out early. The Super Eagles captain William Ekong was named the AFCON Player of the Year, but some fans say Nigerian team should have been more adventurous from the beginning of the match, despite the Super Eagles scoring the opening goal at the final game. However, Nigerian authorities have congratulated the team for coming second place and wished them success in future competitions. That support also resounds across the streets.
We tried. At least we got to the final. Probably team spirits, support from the country itself and the government. Yeah, so we see. I feel like the next one coming will be better.
They did exceedingly great because from the get-go, I mean, it was as if nothing to write about them, but from the second game, I mean, you could see the improvements and you could see like everybody was fighting for the team. All of them are warriors and we are proud of them regardless of the outcome of this game. We are really proud of them. We hope that going forward they do better.
African Cup of Nations, the most important men's African football, launched in 1957 with only 3 founding nations, Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia. Many decades later, Egypt is the most successful team on the continent with 7 AFCON titles, followed by Cameroon 5 and Ghana 4. Nigeria and Ivory Coast have 3 African titles each, with Nigeria winning its last title in South Africa in 2013. Ivory Coast won the African title previously in 1992 and 2015. Timothy Obiezu, VOA News, Abuja, Nigeria.
We'd like to hear what you think about Africa 54 and all our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come, a young man from Congo, Brazzaville embraces kickboxing as his passion. We'll be right back.
Health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. What are the main health concerns in Africa and around the world? Find out the latest on coronavirus. Connect with our experts and ask them questions.
How long does the virus stay?
Join me, Linoch Mudu, in Washington every week on Healthy Living, right here on VOA.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
News. Herbert Wigwe, the chief executive of Access Bank, one of Nigeria's largest depositories, died along with his wife and son in a helicopter crash on Friday in the U.S. state of California's Mojave Desert. In total, 6 people were killed, including the 2 pilots. A communications network blackout in Sudan blamed on the paramilitary rapid support forces is hobbling aid delivery and left the war-torn nation of almost 50 million people unable to make payments or contact the outside world. The RSF is fighting Sudan's army for control of the country in a war that has killed thousands, displaced almost 8 million, and sparked warnings of famine. And Zimbabwean Finance Minister Mthuli Nkumbe says the nation is working on new measures to stabilize its local currency, including linking the exchange rate to hard assets such as gold and creating a currency board. The Zimbabwean dollar has fallen about 40% since the start of the year. Despite mounting criticism, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is defending his intention to launch a military ground operation in Rafah. That's the border town currently sheltering more than 1 million Palestinians who say they have nowhere else to go. VOA's Veronica Balderas Iglesias has the story.
A few days after U.S. President Joe Biden described the military response in the Gaza Strip as, quote, over the top, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appeared on ABC's This Week show and reminded the world about the Hamas terrorist attack that killed 1,200 people and turned 240 into hostages.
We were attacked, unprovoked attack, murderous attack on October 7th, the worst attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust. And let me tell you, I think we've responded in a way that goes after the terrorists and tries to minimize the civilian population in which the terrorists embed themselves and use them as human shields.
More than 28,000 Palestinians, many of them women and children, have been killed in the war, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. Netanyahu dismissed those figures, adding that while a plan is in the works to get civilians out of harm's way, his military will go ahead with a ground operation in Rafah. More than 1.4 million Palestinians, many of them displaced Gazans, are sheltering in the border town. The United Kingdom, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia have voiced concerns.
Those who say that under no circumstances should we enter Rafah are basically saying, lose the war, keep Hamas there. And Hamas's promise to do the October 7th massacre over and over and over again.
Entire families live in tents in Rafah and say they have nowhere else to go.
If there will be more displacement, I'm not moving. I'm on the Egyptian border from one side and east of Rafah from the other side. I can't move.
In Tel Aviv, meanwhile, protesters demanding the release of hostages still in Hamas hands blocked the Ayalon highway on Saturday.
We are here today to tell everybody that we're so fed up with what's going on, and we know the people are with us, but we don't feel the government is, and it's about time.
Netanyahu was asked on ABC whether he knows how many of the roughly 132 hostages in captivity are still alive.
I think enough to warrant the kind of efforts that we're doing, and we're going to try to do our best to get all those who are alive back, and frankly also the bodies of the dead.
In his assessment, the military pressure applied to Hamas was a key factor in securing the recent release of 110 hostages, and affirmed that, quote, victory is within reach. Verónica Valderas Iglesias, VOA News, Washington.
Somali farmers last year faced the dual threats of drought and flooding. VOA's Jamal Ahmed Osman spoke with farmers who shared their experiences of how extreme climate conditions are taking a toll.
Here in Kalundi village in the Middle Shabelle region, about 90 kilometers north of Somalia's capital Mogadishu, farmer Ismail Hassan is among many who say they felt the impact of climate change.
You may not break even due to weather changes. When ready to cultivate, you might lack water for the seeds due to drought, or excess water can break riverbanks during rainy seasons, posing a challenge.
Another farmer, Mude Osman, now displaced in Jowar district, says too much and too little water have forced him to leave his farm twice.
Our harvest is affected by climate change, facing floods and droughts each year. When water submerges, we must relocate. The same occurs during the drought season.
Jowar district farmer Jamalo Ahmed Safar also says the drought has impacted farming in this area.
For the past 4 years, we've endured persistent droughts, and each time we saw our crops, the river runs dry.
Heavy rains and floods affected more than 1.2 million people late last year, according to the United Nations, following years of drought that caused near-famine conditions. Activists like Abdul Kadir Abba Noor say climate extremes are causing food scarcity in the country.
In Somalia, we need real change and action to address climate change issues, which affected the whole country, especially for the farmers and for all other sectors.
Farmers and climate activists like Abba Noor worry about long-term decreases in food production and the impacts on the country as climate extremes become more common. For Jamal Osman in Mogadishu, Somalia, Arash Erbasadi, VOA News.
In Congo, Brazzaville, a young man from an impoverished neighborhood in the coastal city of Pointe-Noire is embracing kickboxing as his passion. He says his biggest dream is to one day become a boxing champion representing his underprivileged community. VOA's Bryce Keno has this story.
This is Funcheche, one of the poorest neighborhoods of Pointe-Noire, the economical capital of the Republic of Congo. Jordan Kunku trains here every day. Growing up, the 25-year-old witnessed many of his friends pulled into violence and drugs, and some lost their lives. Despite his challenging upbringing, Nkunku never abandoned his passion. Nkunku says he hopes to become a world kickboxing champion and show young people from his community that everything is possible.
My dream is to be an international kickboxer. I'm in the Red Devil team, but there are no kickboxing competitions now. I always train so that I can gain notoriety, become an international athlete, and make a living through the sport.
The eldest of a family of 5 children, Nkonku lives with his single mother. To support his family, he worked as a security guard for a while, earning about $150 per month. However, he said he was recently laid off. Nkonku now spends most of his morning at the local market, where he makes a living unloading goods for $2 or $3 a day. Nkonku says he then heads to the Tiger Club's gym, an open air fenced off with sheet metal, to train.
Despite people's criticism and comments suggesting that this sport can't feed anyone in the Congo and that I should forget it, I don't pay attention to them because I have a dream and an objective to achieve. I train every day.
Funcheche, where the future of young people is often derailed by violence, Nkonku also motivates young people to embrace kickboxing. This 14-year-old says she has discovered a new passion thanks to Nkonku.
I often saw him doing sports in the neighborhood, and I was really interested. I got close to him one day and told him to show me how. He took me to the Tiger Club where he trains, and I've been coming here to train ever since.
Nick Mvungu Mananga is Nkonku's coach and trains at the Tiger Club. He says witnessing Nkonku, who took part in kickboxing fights at the local level and won 9 out of 11 fights, is a source of pride. Mananga believes Nkonku has the qualities and the will to turn his dream to reality, provided he is given the opportunity.
Anyone who recruits him won't be disappointed because he has good qualities. In terms of cardio, physical and mental strength, he got it all.
Kickboxing is far from being the most popular sport in Congo-Brazzaville. The discipline lacks support and there are rarely any competitions for the athletes to showcase their talent. But despite these challenges, Nkonku hopes that a scouting agent will recognize his potential and provide him with an opportunity to shine as he continues to help other young people dream of a better future. Briskenwu, VOA News, Pointe-Noire, the Republic of Congo.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thank you for watching.